The next thing I want to show is a final clip from the second interview with Ido, and that's when I asked him about Dorian Yates, because Dorian has been a fixture of London Real from the beginning, very synonymous with London Real in the very beginning, and yet they have very different movement practices. You know, Dorian Yates created a body about aesthetics and quote unquote reverse engineered his body based on what he wanted it to look like, which is almost the opposite practice of what Ido does. Ido is more about building the functionality of the body so it can do certain things and have certain patterns. And so I had to ask Ido what he thought of Dorian Yates, and this is what he said.
We talked about Dorian Yates earlier, and you know, you've said that aesthetics is reverse engineering the body. And when I see Dorian Yates, and he was here just a few weeks ago, he seems as like such a polar opposite athlete to you, or person to you, but yet you respect what he's done. But what he did was obviously build an aesthetic mass by doing physical practices. What comes to mind when you think about bodybuilding or, you know, fitness models?
Yeah, I was there, you know, I was there many years ago. I was doing the thing, you know, I was 82 kilograms, huge, like maybe, you know, 17 kilograms more than now. Wow, very big, over 30 pounds, you know. I have all the ripped skin, you know, in the back, in the arms to show for it. I was there, I was doing it, I was following people like Dorian in the 90s and stuff. I was lifting, I was doing it, but it was leaving me very empty. Eventually I realized it was motivating me. I did the whole thing, but the awareness was leaking. And I love Dorian because of his mindset. It can be something completely opposite to what you're doing, but his approach, the way of doing things that I appreciate. And one last thing about it. Where is all that mess nowadays? Where is it? It's gone. So what is left? Ideas, awareness that you developed in that practice, and maybe it didn't develop much because it's bodybuilding versus superior practices for developing awareness and understanding and relationship with the body. Stuff that will last you a lifetime. Actually, nowadays, Dorian is doing yoga and climbing up those mountains and hiking. He's doing movement these days. He's doing movement practice. He's living in a smaller body because it's more economic and sustainable. And he's preparing himself for more awareness, and he's more aware. So I love his example and his fire, and what he did in bodybuilding is amazing. And I appreciate him coming on and talking about other things, because it might be a risk. It might be dangerous for him. Maybe people don't want to hear it. Maybe people just want to hear about the gold old days, you know, and babbling on about that and the stories, you know, the Arnold stories and, you know, all this, you know, pumping iron for the millionth times. And you know what? Doesn't do it for me anymore. And I had to stay real with that and continue to develop myself and find the same fire I had for those things, but in a more deeper level, sustainable level, into older age, and still maintain certain aesthetics, which I believe are very important for our image, for the way that we move. They're connected with who we are. We're not just a brain, we're not just a body, we're also an image of the way that we look, etc. Right. This is part.
So aesthetics aren't unimportant. There is a place for them.
Yeah, I never said they are unimportant. Okay. It's the people who want to take the black and white thing and present it as a, you know, gimmick. I never said that. I said just aspiring for aesthetics is reverse engineering. You are aspiring for those aesthetics because it hints of a movement functionality. Oh, that body can fight, can move, can climb, can push, can pull. But actually, not necessarily. In Dorian's case, he was still one of the last, you know, strong bodybuilders. You know, he was deadlifting some serious weights. He was pushing around some serious iron. But even that is just a small perspective of movement, you know. It might be a certain, you know, relaxation that allows you to throw the arm in speed and hit someone more efficiently versus contraction.
Very unexpected take of Ido on Dorian. Ido really appreciated Dorian's mindset, the way that he went for it and achieved those great things. But it's interesting, he observes him now and he sees Dorian as a mover, as someone maybe more in touch with his brain and something that's more economic and even more spiritual. And it's true. I mean, Dorian now can do the splits. He does yoga. He rides his bike. I saw him doing horseback riding recently. And it's fascinating to see Dorian switch from that old mindset of doing those repeated zone 3 movements to build the muscle into something now that really exercises the neural pathways of his brain. And as Ido said, like, where's the muscle now? It's gone. And what's left? Does he have any kind of a practice or an awareness that came with it? Probably not. Whereas he thinks there's superior ways of having a practice that can have more longevity and use the brain.